Welcome to the Wrestle Fam Talkshow. I'm Ron.
I'm Ashley.
We're doing something different this week. I know last week we had this part of the show with the AEW Dynamite Review, and I thought, why don't we just put on a show prior to AEW Dynamite? Why don't we just talk freely, preview AEW Dynamite, talk about some other things that are happening in the wrestling world, and bring up things that are happening in our life, maybe. Kind of guess what's going to be going on. So today, we're going to be covering the AEW Dynamite preview. We'll even talk a little bit about Rampage. Not much is known about that show right now. Talk about the WWE releases. Something about WWE on here. Maybe some ideas about NXT. Talk about our video we did about Triplemania. Just briefly recap that fun show. And then speak about some of the ideas I have for the house here. Maybe some personal things I'm going to go out and buy that maybe my wife doesn't want me to go buy.
Exactly.
So first, we'll do the AEW Dynamite preview. Tonight, we have the Young Bucks defending the tag team titles against the Jurassic Express. That's Matt and Nick Jackson. They are the Young Bucks against Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, the Jurassic Express. Do you see the tag titles changing hands tonight, Ashley?
Not quite sure, but it would be exciting to see Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy win them.
Yeah, I'm going to think no.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change tonight, though.
Maybe a continuation of the storyline, obviously. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega have really been getting it handed to them by Christian and the Jurassic Express. I could see some comeback from Kenny Omega and Young Bucks, some revenge. I haven't seen Marco Stunt lately. I know they like to utilize him as a person that the bad guys beat up, that it gets to the Jurassic Express, it gets to Christian. Maybe we see something like that. Maybe they abuse him on the basketball court. Maybe dunk on Marco Stunt and do something in that nature. So I guess that would be my prediction. Of course, no one knows until the show happens, but I think something maybe definitely I'm going with a guess of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks somehow get some sort of revenge
Yeah, I can see that
on
happening.
them tonight because they've been taking beatings the last few weeks, and even when they're talking, getting put down. So I'm just guessing Marco Stunt maybe had something to do with it. I haven't seen him in a while. That would be an easy target for them to pick on him and get back at the Jurassic Express. Next match, we have Sammy Govara versus Sean Spears. A continuing feud between the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle. They've all split into their own personal feuds. Jericho with MJF, Sammy Guevara's with Sean Spears. You still have Wardlow and Jake Hager battling it out. And then the tag team of Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz versus FTR, Cash Wheeler, Dax Hardwood. So you've all seen different entities battle it out between the groups, but tonight we get Guevara and Spears. Sean Spears, right now, the way they had him on the show, he doesn't win too much. He seems to be the Inner Circle's guy that's in the ring. If he's in the match, he's probably the one that's going to lose. What I would like to see is they need to build him up a little bit more, stronger. Sammy's already over with all the fans, and well, that's the term they use in wrestling is over. That means he's popular. So he's very popular with the fans. He can take a loss. So I could see Sean Spears kind of showing out tonight since he took the loss to Sammy at the pay-per-view a few months back. That's what I would think. That would be the most logical thing going into this, thinking who is going to win. How about you? What do you think?
I was thinking I would want to see Sean Spears win tonight over Sammy. Even though Sammy's popular, I would like to see the guys with MJF pull one out.
Yeah, it seems to me with all this battling, MJF looks great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. We'll talk about it later. He's in the main event, so if he's going to lose or win, I think whatever happens there would be the opposite result of what's happening in this match. But I don't know. I mean, could the Pinnacle do a sweep tonight, a 2-0 against Inner Circle? That would be great because I mean, it started out where the Pinnacle was looking great. You know, they were beating Inner Circle. They beat them in the War Games match. And then after that, it seems Inner Circle's just been on a roll. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think Hager beat Wardlow in a cage match, in a UFC style match. And Sean Spears lost to Jericho in his first labor. So they've been on a losing streak. They need some wins now to keep going. So I'm predicting Sean Spears. I wouldn't be surprised if Sammy wins. If that happens, I've been saying it since Pinnacle started, is maybe Sean Spears is the scapegoat. We have yet to see someone really kicked out of a group yet, which is great. You know, tag teams really don't last that long these day and age in wrestling, and groups don't either. So it's great to see no one's been kicked out. But if I were to predict the first person to, have where they just beat someone down and say, you're not good enough to be in my group, yada, 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 I would choose Sean Spears to maybe be that person and maybe turn him good and have him go after them. This is down the line, but that would be my prediction, would be Sean Spears getting kicked out of the group and replaced by somebody new or whatever storyline they do. But then the exciting match you're looking forward to, we have Sting and Darby Allin versus
2.0.
Yes, 2.0, Matt Lee and Jeff Parker. I just realized it. I was watching a match from YouTube. They were doing Elevation or Dark. They've been having matches a lot. 2.0 have picking up some wins on those YouTube channels or YouTube shows. Matt and Jeff. It's like when Tony Schiavone said, I was like, oh, that's like the Hardy Boys. So a lot of Matts in the tag team division. Matt Jackson, Matt Lee, Matt Hardy. That's one cool thing, I guess, about AEW is they don't care if you have a name, that's your name. There's 2 cages, 2 pages, and
Yeah.
3 thises and 3 that's. And I believe back in the early 2000s, wrestlers would have to change their name. They would kind of be like, hey, we only want one Matt on the show or whatever it may be. So that match is a Texas Tornado match, which means there's no tags. They're all in. They're all in together.
Exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait. Predicting 2.0 gets their butt kicked.
Which they will probably love because it's going to be by Sting.
Yeah, they're going to love that. So
I can't wait for the interaction between Matt and Sting again because I know it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I could just see them flopping all over the place.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this one because I think 2.0 is becoming one of my favorite tag teams right now just because of the entertainment. Even when they're getting their butt kicked, it's very, very good to watch, for someone that doesn't watch it as much. And I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, they're doing a great job by not even having to win.
I love seeing them get their butt kicked. They make it very entertaining.
And that's the longevity. They have a longevity in this sport if they're good at getting their butt kicked.
Yeah.
Because usually when you get your butt kicked, they seem to sour on you. But here, that's their job. And
I mean, it'll be good to see them win one day. But right now, I'm very entertained by what they've shown me so far. It makes me excited to see the next match they're in.
The only thing I don't want to see 2.0 do is join the Matt Hardy family office.
No, I think right now I like them with what they've got going on.
They have Daniel Garcia as an ally. I made a joke there about Matt Hardy because he already has enough tag teams in that office.
Well, that is true. I mean, it is pretty big. I don't think how many more people can actually join that.
But it wouldn't shock me if they join. The main event tonight, Jericho, MJF. I think MJF has to win this.
I hope so because I kind of want MJF to win.
Jericho doesn't need it. He's already a legend. He could lose every match from now until he retires, and it's not going to matter. You predicted a couple weeks ago, or was it last week?
I think it was last week.
Was it? I'm acting like we've been having this show for a long time. I think we've only had this show for a week, so it had to be last week. You said they're going to sing the song of Jericho when he comes out there, meaning the crowd, because MJF has banned his entrance music, and I read that AEW has been posting the lyrics of the song out for the fans. So I think your prediction is spot on. It was a great prediction.
Well, I mean, you see all the fans sing it when with his music, no matter what. So I had a feeling that I'm like, you know what, they're going to sing it no matter what because they know the song. So he's going to have his entrance, which I think MJF. I hope that Jericho comes out second, so that way it gives that reaction that MJF is going to be like really pissed off about it, that they're actually singing his song and giving him that entrance music that he said, "Oh, you can't have it."
Yeah, that's going to be great. I think MJF wins this just based off of what I said. Jericho doesn't need any win. But if Jericho wins, it wouldn't shock me. That's the thing about AEW. It doesn't shock me either way they go, but it's what you do afterwards. But I think the pinnacle, if they want to be taken seriously, they got to start pulling off some wins.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's not important who wins and loses, but when you're a new group and you're trying to promote yourself pretty good, you can't take too many losses in the beginning. You got to be dominant. Some other things that could possibly happen tonight that I'm not too sure of. I've read about it and tried to look it up, and I remember we talked about it last week. I think they mentioned something about Ricky Starks and Brian Cage having a face-off. Now, is that they're talking to each other, or if they're having a match? I don't know, but I think Ricky Starks and Brian Cage are going to have something tonight. And then somewhere said Britt Baker might be in action, but usually they run 6 matches, and right now we've only talked about 4. Sometimes you show up on Dynamite, you don't even know who's wrestling. You find out hours beforehand of who's
Or maybe
wrestling.
it's going to be a surprise match.
Yeah, usually they run 6, unless they do 4, and these matches are going to run long, which I don't mind. You have MJF and Jericho. They need to have a lot of time. I think the tag team match, the championship needs to have a lot of time. Those championship matches need to be long, except for Miro's. Miro's doing the thing where he's just running through people. I wonder if we'll see vignettes of Miro, maybe tease who his next opponent is, if they haven't announced it already. But that's the preview for AEW Dynamite. We're pretty excited about that. Now, outside of AEW, I've been watching YouTube and seeing a lot of people talk about WWE releases. I always look at things as a positive. WWE, when Vince McMahon took over, majority of the time, his main focus is larger wrestlers in the main events. There have been a few exceptions, the Bret Hart era, the Shawn Michaels era. So he does venture out. Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho. They have a different viewpoint from what I've read, that they're going to try to just build that larger than life wrestlers, which I think is smart. If you look at the landscape of wrestling, it seems everyone's similar right now. They're putting on great shows. Smaller wrestlers, they want to say they're smaller, but they're individuals, they're wrestlers that can put on great shows. But WWE's predominantly been a character-based wrestling federation. So it doesn't surprise me they're going with this. I don't know why they wouldn't want to have both, where your main guys are your character-based wrestling, and then I believe Triple H was running NXT, which started out as their program or area where they would build up the wrestlers, kind of a cookie cutter process. You come there, you learn how to wrestle the same style, things of that nature. But NXT then grew into something that could compete with the independent wrestlers, because a lot of them were independent wrestlers. If you look at the landscape of WWE, a lot of the top stars up and down that roster came from Ring of Honor in the early 2000s, late 2000s, throughout the whole 2000s. they've wrestled everybody in AEW. So that's where I kind of see the difference. But when they compare WWE and WCW, and then they compare WWE and AEW, a lot of these wrestlers have been buddies, wrestled each other prior to hitting it big. But talking about the releases, I think it's great for those wrestlers if they have got released. It's great for them either way if they're kept or not, because once you make it to WWE, you have a name now. A lot of those wrestlers were not known other than the fan bases that loved those promotions that they were working at prior to WWE. But once you go to WWE and then you're released and you go back out even to that same promotion that you were at, you have a different automatic level of respect. You're higher up in the thoughts of the fans because you're known more around the world. So I don't think they're going to have a problem, the wrestlers that were released, because when they go back, they're already automatic main eventers. You look at Matt Cardona, the former Zack Ryder. Once he got released, he's main eventing matches. And what was he doing in WWE? We went to one show a few years ago, and him and Kurt Hawkins came out, and they just did a little promotion. They just talked, and that's all you saw of them. And then they went back to the back, and they didn't even wrestle that night. So for the wrestlers out there, they're probably going to get a lot more work, wrestle more often, do the things they want to do. WWE has a structure that they do. I don't know all about the rumors of the battle between NXT and AEW, if that had anything to do with it, or if it was just based off of the channel that they were on, wanting to promote a different sport on that night, whatever it may be. But I see a lot of people on the YouTube just going crazy about it. And could they have done something more with NXT? Yeah, but I barely watched NXT the whole time. I know they've been having great matches and they had great characters. There's only one match me and Bryce would watch every year, and that's the War Games with the Undisputed Era. That's the only match of NXT I would ever watch every year. And it was nothing against NXT. There were so many wrestlers on there. I didn't feel the time to try to keep up with them, but they're putting on great matches. Could they have had NXT as that separate entity as they were doing and battle the other promotions doing the same style matches? Sure. And then had the main event be that different, big wrestlers, whatever terminology you want to use, the stronger looking wrestlers, Hulk Hogan type, larger than life, then go ahead. But having a different style of wrestling doesn't mean it's bad. It gives you, everybody wants options, and there's your option. Maybe WWE thought, hey, we're becoming a little bit more like everybody else. We're the ones that are supposed to be different. Who knows? Either way, those wrestlers are going to find work, and we're going to see them in all these promotions that are coming up. I cannot remember the last time that in my life that there was so many promotions that you could turn to and know the wrestlers and wrestlers that you knew, and they battled it out and they were on TV. Nowadays with the internet, they don't have to be on a main channel or anything. You find that way. When I was younger, I barely got to see wrestling on TV. I would usually read the magazines. And as a kid, I remember sometimes I'd be so confused. I'd be like, that Kurt Hennig guy from the AWA, he looks a lot like Mr. Perfect. And you want to know why he did? Because that was Mr. Perfect. But my magazines were like a couple of years old. And of course, I would get TBS. I think I had like 13 channels. This was back when those TVs didn't even have remote controls. I know I'm sounding like the old guy giving you the old stories where you walked up and turned the knob. So I would get TBS. So then I started watching a lot of WCW, and then I would catch WWF whenever they had the Saturday night main events. So that's when I said going back, Von Erich Wrestling was on, of course. That was local. Then you had the WWF would come on, and that's when I would see the big matches, Hawk and Andre. I believe that was the 88 when they did the switch with the ref. Of course, I was like 3 or 4 at that time. But looking back now, I know, okay, that's what I watched. During that moment, I'm just looking at Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. I'm like, oh, those are the rubber action figures I have. Those are the guys. And then it would turn into, okay, I couldn't watch WWF because we didn't have the USA Network. So I just read magazines, and then TBS started having the wrestling, or they had it all the time, but then I found it. And that's when I really got into the Dangerous Alliance in 91, 92, and WCW. But anyways, what I'm getting at is today, wrestling's everywhere. If I want to see a match, I just type it in on YouTube, but I don't need to go into that. We all know that it's a lot easier to watch wrestling, and it's great. It's great for the wrestlers because now you've gone to WWE, you've established a name, you're released, you're going back to even the same promotion you just left prior to signing with them, and you're a bigger star. Your thoughts on that?
It is a lot easier to watch nowadays. I mean, it's more exciting too. And now our kids can actually go back and watch older matches that they've never seen because Bryce loves watching the old style matches. He's really into that stuff.
Yeah, it was a simpler time. I'm telling you. I mean, I used to think I was on my game on this wrestling, but there are so many people out there. They know all these wrestlers. There's so many different promotions. I would have to spend hours and hours in a day just trying to catch up. So I'm just gonna kind of start now, find out who I like in that, and then just coast and talk about it. I'm not going to take it too seriously. This is all for fun. This is all for the kids. It's all for memories. So speaking of that, first day of school today. So I still got to try to get these videos with them in, but homework comes first, according to mommy.
Oh yes.
I know that wasn't my style back in the day, but I can't say that you're wrong. You're right. The school comes first, especially before this. This is just supposed to be.
Well,
fun.
Bryce, he'll have those wrestlers sitting right back on the table.
Oh yeah.
Playing with them between questions.
So we did a Triplemania review. You tend to like that type of review.
Yes.
Because I've been writing down everything that's been happening on AEW, and I kind of feel like I'm a robot. And I don't know if I've enjoyed the last two shows because I'm so like, I got to write this down. I got to write the commercial down. I'm just going to watch tonight. And if I forget something, if I can't say someone's name, we're starting to make slideshows just so if I mispronounce someone's name, like I think on that Triplemania, I was mispronouncing names right and left. And so I just put it up there, read it, you pronounce it. If I forget someone, if I call them like on that, the blue guys, I'll put the names in afterwards. So if I forget names in that, so hopefully the slideshow thing would work. You got it working. It was great. The kids helped out. I know it's not the most
elaborate
slideshow, but hey, like I said, this is just all for fun. We're not trying to do anything other than just have fun. Speaking of fun, I've married you many years ago. I have goals. I have wants. And some of those wants happen to be, I want to live that Ric Flair lifestyle.
Oh, goodness.
I watched that Triplemania. I talked about it in the review. I seen all the guys in their nice suits. I've never owned a suit in my life. I've never owned one. I seen Ric Flair talk about alligator shoes. He's having a hard time keeping those bad puppies on the ground. Now, I don't know if they're made out of alligator. I don't know if it's just the brand. I've never looked this stuff up. But for some reason, I want them as well. I want my prescription sunglasses. I want a limousine outside with a driver that just sits there all day in case I want to go somewhere. Do I have anywhere to go dressed up? No. Am I important? Not really. But do I want to drive around somewhere and act like I am? Sure.
I bet you do.
Do I want to pull up at the local Mexican restaurant that we love to go to? Along the way, just have a sign that says free limousine ride, pick up people, just so when we get to wherever we're going, they exit the limousine first. Multiple people get out, and they're out. Once they hit the door, get on, go. And then I get out last. But when I get out, the classic wrestling move, you get out and you look around. You hold that door and you check your surroundings. Maybe I give a woo. I don't know. maybe I'll come up with some other thing I'll yell. But that's what I want. Am I getting it? Probably not. Why? My wife. Your thoughts?
Well, maybe we'll get the suit.
Yeah, the suit kind of seems the most normal out of my idea.
Well, you know what? I can always take my minivan, and I can just let you get out the back. I'll open it for you. I'll drive you around.
Yeah, I did think about that. I thought about, okay, can we do it the poor man version of this where I ride in the back, I have the kids back there with me. It could even be in my truck. You drive us around and then we all get out of the same door, but they get out first.
Exactly.
I don't think it would have the same effect. But yeah, I never owned a suit. Of course, I've rented suits for my wedding and other people's weddings and that. But I just want to own a suit. I've seen all these suits and I go, wow, those look cool. The suits in wrestling. The whole, I'm not wrestling tonight. These guys are wrestling, though. They get in there and they battle in these suits. Like, I don't know if I should show up to a basketball park. And what did they say on the YouTube? Try to shut it down? Shut it down in my suit? I don't know. I can barely move anyways. So that's not going to go well. They're going to shut me down. They're not even going to allow me on the court. Take one look at me and that guy can't play basketball. They would be correct. But I don't know. I just want to own a suit. I want to feel important out there, even though I don't have anything to do.
I can see you doing that, though.
Yeah. Those suits look really nice. But anyways, this was just our little fun show. Decided to do it instead of adding it to the review for Dynamite, so it's not so long. I don't think those reviews are going to be as long as they've been. But we appreciate you listening. Hope you enjoyed our little rant. And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.